So I was reading the book of Acts this morning, and something I just kept going back to chapter 5. Even though I had read past chapter 5, I kept going back. And if you don't know, there's a story in Acts chapter 5 about a husband and wife. Ananias is the husband, Sapphira is the wife. The Bible tells us that they had sold a piece of property that they had, but Ananias had kept back a portion of the profit he received from the sale, and that his wife, Sapphira, was privy to it. So, in other words, she was aware of her husband attempting to defraud the church because he was supposed to bring on his own accord the profit that he had earned from the sale to give over to the church, like a lot of people were giving to the church, right? The Bible tells us Ananias lied and he dropped dead. And then a few verses later, in verse 8, Sapphira, they give her a chance to tell the truth. She lied. She dropped dead like her husband. And my question for you is this, because in verse 2 it says that in the KJV that Sapphira was privy to what her husband did. What has the Lord God Almighty allowed you to be privy to that you've mishandled? You still going to do what you want, despite the fact that God has shown you. He gave you a heads up. He let you see what was hidden. Remember what it says in Daniel, that God knows what dwells in darkness, and yet light dwells with him. And he knows the secret things, and he will reveal them to us, right? And you don't always gotta, war in prayer for God to reveal a thing. Sometimes God will just show it to you, and it's up to you to handle it accordingly. And so we want God to do a lot of things for us. But have you been found trustworthy with the oracles of God? We don't really like to kind of talk about that a lot because we talk about the importance of trusting God, but can God find you trustworthy? I'm talking to disciples of Jesus Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach. So we look at that Ananias and Sapphira situation, and what happened to them, the consequence they faced, they dropped dead. But just think about the details. She was privy to her husband defrauding the church. What has the Lord, God Almighty, the Lord of hosts, allowed you to be privy to? And how have you handled that information, whatever it is? Because we want to be found trustworthy in the sight of God. We want to be obedient and we want to be found trustworthy. So just take a time to think on that, because you want to make sure that you're not mishandling what God has allowed you to see, hear, or know.